This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. Jake Schario is a fellow citizen of the world. After going to university in Madrid, he continued to say yes to opportunities life threw at him and made the best of it. Jake and I spoke about family, living in different parts of the world, and the impact our careers have had on those decisions. Enjoy! Hi, Jake. Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. Really appreciate you joining me today.
No, thanks for having me. Like I said, this is pretty exciting. And it seems like you got a podcast that kind of fits what I'm about. So it's good to see things come together.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit before starting the recording, but and I've read a little bit about you, but to catch everybody up, how would you describe yourself and your story in a little synopsis?
A little synopsis. So, I've always grown up multicultural my dad, he's from small town Ohio. My mom is from the Philippines. So, growing up, my brothers and I, we always had that awareness of, the world and how different it can be. And, I was fortunate enough to, when I graduated high school, I was able to go abroad for college and did my undergrad in Madrid, Spain. And that opened up a bunch of other doors. And so I've lived abroad quite a bit in my adult life, also when I was a kid, but definitely in my adult life. And I've just been really enjoying it, the challenges that come from it, and just kind of how it makes your brain work differently. And that's kind of what I've always been about is um, not really 100% following like what everyone else is kind of programmed to do, get, which isn't a bad life. I'm not dogging it, but it was just I guess uh, I always knew that I'm not an extraordinary person, so I have to go out and consciously do extraordinary things to stand out. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
I'd say that does make you an extraordinary person because most people would say, I'm just going to take the easy way. And I think I'm learning that traveling around and living abroad is certainly not the easy way. You have to be an extraordinary person in order to do that. So there's a couple of things in hearing your explanation about your story that's really intriguing to me. First of all, the Ohio piece of it and your family history. Did you grow up in Ohio? My sister and my godmother are from. My sister currently lives in Cleveland, and my godmother has always lived in Ohio. So I have a special place in my heart for Ohioans.
Yeah, I lived in Cincinnati for 2 or 3 years
Okay.
when I was really young, but other than that, no. But everyone in my dad's family and my cousins and everything, they're all in or from Ohio, and we go there quite often.
It was always from traveling from New York to Ohio every other Thanksgiving. It was always a rough drive. It's 8 hours of just green pastures and farms. There wasn't much to look at on that path. So I'm sure those trips were fun and interesting. But what made you want to get your undergrad in Madrid? Of all the places in the world, why Madrid? Did you visit there beforehand?
Kind of, not Madrid exactly, but so if we take it back a year or two before, freshman year of college, I wasn't a super studious kid. I wasn't very into school. I kind of just got by, and but I liked Spanish class. That was the class that I took Spanish all 4 years. When I don't know if in New York it's similar. I imagine it is, but like if you want to get into a 4 year, they make you take at least 2 years of a foreign language in high school. And so like I started taking Spanish because I'm Filipino, and my mom was like, well, we in the Philippines we have a lot of words from
Oh.
Spanish, so that would be kind of a natural fit. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I got into class. I was like, oh, I already know like you know 20 words, but so so I got into it and I took it all 4 years, and you know one in my junior year, a girl came in. She was from Spain, and she was talking about this exchange program that was being offered that summer. And usually in the summers, I would play baseball and basketball. And at that point, it had become apparent I'm not going to be a professional ball player. So it's like we should do something different this summer. And and so yeah, I was like that sounds cool. Uh, and so I went on this exchange program, spent a month with a family in Leon, which is in the north of Spain, a smaller city, like 100,000 people, but it was really cool. It was insane. Like I'm also a big history buff, and and so there's just like all these cathedrals and all this old architecture. I really fell in love with it, and it's just the whole vibe of it, the people, and so I come back after that, and I'm like, man, like how can I get back over there? Am I just gonna save up from my little, summer job or part time job or what? And uh, I get this email, or I think maybe my mom got it. I don't know, but we got an email saying like, oh hey, if you want to spend more time over there, there are these programs, there are these universities that are accredited in the US or linked to a US university. So you can get a US degree, but be over in Madrid, or I think they had like a couple other cities in Europe or in Asia. But so I applied, and I got a scholarship, and I just showed up, and like I had never been to the school before because it's not like your local state school where you can go on campus and get a feel for it. It's
Mhm.
a bit farther. So but I was like, screw it,
Yeah.
let's show up, and I really liked it, and uh, that led to me living in Madrid for about 7 years.
I just went to
Yeah.
Madrid for the first time I think it's been 2, 3 weeks at this point ago. And it's
Hmm.
if you're someone that likes history, Madrid is very fascinating in that regard. But to back up even further beyond college, let's put a pin in that and come back to that in a second.
Sure.
Did you mentioned that your mom's from the Philippines, you're taking these Spanish classes. Clearly you're doing things. Were you guys going back and forth to the Philippines in your childhood? Were your parents taking you and to travel, or were you just traveling to Ohio and bouncing around from there?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Seattle, so like, Ohio definitely kind of is a different country in
Yeah.
a lot of ways,
Yes.
especially Louisville, Ohio.
Yep.
But no, not too much. Growing up, I went to the Philippines a couple times,
Okay.
before adulthood.
So traveling
We
wasn't a foreign concept to you where you were really taking a huge risk. You had some international travel under your belt. You knew what it meant for you to do that. You knew you were comfortable and it was a risk worth taking.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So like I mean, my mom's family, is all immigrants too, so it's kind of that mentality of throwing caution to the wind a little bit and taking a giant leap of faith. So and so yeah, and then like I said, like having that familiarity, I think, growing up, and a lot of my friends still like haven't left a certain part of Washington State, and that's cool. Like I kind of envy that because it is a great life up there, but it kind of, your mentality is kind of like, oh, why would I want to go far? Why would I want to leave? So just kind of having that built into my life, it didn't really seem like a risk at the time.
Do you also, when you're going to college, everybody in theory is going into a new chapter, so it's all relative, I suppose. Everybody's doing a similar type of risk, and
Exactly.
it's, yeah, it's all equitable, I suppose. For I'm struggling to find the words to put it in the same, but it's all the same. Everybody's risk, no matter how far they're traveling, it's all the same amount of risk. You're changing your
Yeah.
life, and doing something completely different. But are you someone that is okay with discomfort? Because it seems like, so you lived in Madrid for 7 years. What is the catalyst, and then what's your next stop?
I think, yeah, at that time, when I was in my 20s, it was definitely a lot of trying to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. I've been blessed to kind of grow up very comfortably. I think, uh, yeah, my parents provided a pretty good, stable upbringing. And so, not to say that there weren't challenges along the way, of course, but it was just like, you get out into the world, you see how a lot of other people live, and it's like, okay, uh, a lot of people have this built-in resiliency, and I didn't feel like I had that. So it kind of was like being away from my family and trying to figure something completely new out was a conscious effort by me at that time to develop that resiliency and kind of develop that resourcefulness,
Hmm.
I think is a better word. uh, and and yeah, so it was a bit of a conscious effort.
I think I had almost the opposite thing of, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My brother is autistic. I grew up growing up fairly quickly and very independent, very resourceful. Parents, what were, not that they weren't around and that they weren't present and that they didn't love me, but I just, they had to put their attention on the sibling that needed it the most, and I made sure I was never the sibling that needed it. And granted, I was a theater kid, so I had my moments where I put on my performance and was absolutely very dramatic when I needed to be, but a- and then every once in a while an adult would come in and try and tell me what to do and put the genie was out of the bottle. And so I think traveling kind of helped, it's helped sort out everybody's lane, in my life, of where where everybody needs to be in relation to me. Distance makes the heart grow fonder sometimes, and I think it's helpful in gaining your independence. There's some cousins that I have that, I come from a very traditional Italian American family where everybody needs to be in everybody's business. And I look at my little cousins and they're frustrated by it. I'm like, go study abroad, go far away, do what you've got to do. Cause when you have no one else and you have to figure it out on your own, you grow up fairly quickly, I feel like. And it's the best training ground for how to be an adult and be an empathetic and person, I guess, and all the other adjectives. So when you're moving around, and I'm sure every place that you move to, you're learning a little piece about yourself along the way. What are some things that have been go to things of, for me, I've had to move to go to a different city every month. And then for the past 2 months, it's been every week I'm going someplace different. So it's a little chaotic, which I'm kind of getting uh, over. I'm tired of it. But it is interesting of how every little city I am learning something new about myself, my biases that I have against others. I'm going to stop talking and let you speak to that, of what your personal experience has been with that.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's funny. You talk about your family. I'm the oldest of three, and both my brothers have autism as well.
No
And
way. That's a
So
whole other
it's a similar
episode for a
experience.
different time, but happy Autism Awareness Month. It's April, beginning of April.
I mean, the universe, we're all connected
Yes,
and everything's happening that's supposed to
yes.
happen. But it's funny that you mentioned that, like, growing up being resourceful and being independent, because yeah, your parents like naturally have to focus their attention on the kids that really need it. And so I had a similar experience. Like it, and you have that built-in responsibility
Mhm,
as you get older. Like, okay, I know that at some point, you know, I'm gonna have to take a larger role, like it's in their care and in their day to day. Um, but yeah, to your question, things I've learned along the way. Well, like for example, I had this job that took me to Tanzania and South Africa, and I spent a year in those countries. And it was a very, I was 23,
wow.
and I didn't know how much I didn't know, and it was a job that was pretty intense. It was a lot of work, and it's like getting a project in a foreign country off the ground. And then like the job was pretty much, it was kind of like advertising, sales, and journalism kind of wrapped into one. And you're meeting all these really smart, like, CEOs of the biggest companies in those countries. And politicians. Even I went to the South African White House. You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
I don't know exactly what they call it, but
I know what you mean,
it
though.
looks
Yeah,
like a mini White House.
yeah.
And the president and his family is there, and so I would say that experience specifically is like how to just start doing everything quickly and soaking up information and really just kind of going balls to the wall. And I didn't really know that about myself, and it gave me a lot of confidence to do whatever. And then, it kind of backfired on them, because in the middle of the project, I was like, I'm gonna go try to start my own business. And they're like, oh, so you're just leaving us without a director, huh? I was like, yeah, well, this is what I
Mm,
you guys gave me the confidence to do this. So
yeah.
um, and so that's one example. And along the way, uh, yeah, and that business flopped. So
You
whatever.
gave it a
But
shot.
uh,
What, you know?
and yeah, and then exactly, and then that led me back to Madrid for like my second stint, like another 2 or 3 years. And I think there, it was kind of just like having a lot of fun. But uh, yeah, it's just like kind of a lot of personal things. I guess I discovered, um, it's like how to slowly become an adult.
Mhm.
You know, paperwork, that then the importance of paperwork.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and then now I would say, I've been living in Guadalajara, Mexico for the last 3.5 years. And so I've taken that entrepreneurial learning and that learning of paperwork, and I've started my own business, 38 Marketing, 38marketing.digital. Shameless plug if you want to check us
Yeah.
out. Uh, and then taken that paperwork piece and I got my visa for Mexico. So, that should facilitate some things and should pay dividends down the line.
That's lovely. I want to ask you about your business in a second. Do you mind if we go back to being the oldest sibling? And, I think that you and I can have a very specific type of conversation that maybe I couldn't have with anybody else. And if it's too personal, we can cut this out or we can just skip on over to my other questions. But you also mentioned it was like one of the first things that you said today where you're kind of there people have a specific expectation of order in which you do things when you go through life. And I think it's even more so when you're a female of you that's cute, you go to college, very nice, but then you need to go and find a husband and you need to have children and then it's what a bonus that you get to work and be a mom and do all the things. And I am approaching my 29th birthday is in 2 weeks. I'm approaching my 30s, no partner, no children, none of it, just me, myself, and I. I'm actually about to go and start up my own self employed situation myself as I go back to the States in a couple weeks. So everybody asks me, why do you want to do that? Why? And people always ask me, why am I the way that I am? And my brother, if I were, when I spent the last year thinking about everything and tracing it back to childhood and like doing a lot of self therapy and why am I the way that I am? Why did I choose this path? And my brother is usually one of the things I keep coming back to of the way I ended up being is because of him and I, especially being so close in age. And when I think about the later years of my life, I know I have to be taking care of him. That is when my parents passed the baton on to me, and I am his caregiver, which my brother's the best. I'm sure you feel the same way about your brothers. He, I what I couldn't think of a better way to finish out this life than with him. But not to be too morbid. But I feel like everybody waits until their retirement to travel the world. And I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm doing it backwards. I'm doing all my life living now and my caregiving later. Do you feel that your upbringing has impacted your choice to take as much advantage of the world as possible while you're living in it while you have it? Or am I reading too deeply and projecting too much?
No, you hit it. I've actually never told this to anyone because it just sounds morbid and people like you're overthinking it,
Mhm.
this, that, and third, but it's like it needs to be thought about and like it is planned out, you know? Like I've had these conversations with my parents, like this is how things are gonna be divided up. This is what we need you to do. Uh and like this is where the proper paperwork is for when that time comes, which you hate thinking about it, but
Right.
uh you don't want to start thinking about it and figure it out when it's too late.
Right.
So I'm lucky. Sounds like you're lucky too that you have pretty responsible parents that have started thinking about that if they haven't thought it out already. Um, but yeah, it was a conscious thing. Like I know I have this responsibility
Mhm.
later in life, and so let me be irresponsible, quote unquote, now
Mhm.
and take advantage of not having so many responsibilities. 'Cause, I've had cousins or I have cousins that they had kids very young, like 21, 22, 23. And
Well,
I don't
Ohio.
think they,
Ohio, that makes sense.
well, they're Southern, actually. They're
Uh,
my Southern
that
cousins.
also
So
makes sense.
it's, yes, it also makes sense. But and I don't think they regret it. Their kids are in their teens now. But uh, what was I trying to say? Just like you see, yeah, it's different, uh, and seeing how their 20s and and our lives now in our mid 30s are very different. Uh, so what was I trying to say? But yeah, like that and seeing, I think when I was coming up, I was somewhat fortunate to have a lot of people around me that made a lot of mistakes, and I could see up close and personal and be like, okay, I don't. That seems uncomfortable. That seems tough. I don't really want that. So whatever they're doing, I'm not gonna do. So I'm gonna go and be a little irresponsible. I'm gonna go take advantage of this because when you're young. So I have another cousin. I feel like I've been talking about my family a lot, but
Sorry.
he's it's okay. Uh, Eh, so I have another cousin, one of these Ohio cousins. Very smart. It's like kind of a like typical Midwestern picket fence boy, girl, two parents, suburbs, stable, and he's like he's getting to college and he's like, how did you decide how to spend your time? Like, like should I do this? Should I do that? I don't. This sounds like a time suck. I'm like, dude, you're 18 years old. You have nothing but time. Like you have no experience, you have no money, like you have no fashion sense. Like you know, you still haven't even figured out your look. You haven't figured out what you're good at. So yeah, dude, take time because that's all you have to offer right now. Uh, so yeah, that it was a conscious decision to spend some time being a little reckless, travel around a little bit, get that experience. Because yeah, uh, I wouldn't say I consciously thought like I'm going to be a caregiver, you know, in my 60s in my retirement, but it was just more like, you know, I'm healthy, I'm young.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee that I'm going to be uh, you know, healthy when I'm older. And
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you've been in Italy, it sounds like, so you know that's a prime spot for retirees to go wander around Venice and Florence and stuff. And I see tourists like that. It's like, man, I don't think I could really take advantage of everything these places have to offer if I'm, you know, barely keeping out of a wheelchair or a walker. You know
Right.
what I mean?
It's
So,
not very, handy capable friendly in
right.
most
Yeah.
places in Europe. Yeah. My mother and I were walking around Venice, and we found one bridge that was wheelchair accessible for someone, and Venice is very difficult to get around. So, yeah, that's I think for the healthy part, that's where my celiac diagnosis came in, and I had a lot of other health issues, and so once I finally got my health in order, I had to take full advantage and be like, "All right, it's now or never. I need to go and travel." So, tell me about, were you always working in the marketing space in Madrid and in South Africa, and as you come to Mexico? Like, what brings you from Madrid, your studies in Madrid, to where you currently now are career-wise that has allowed you this opportunity to be able to live in different countries around the world?
No, actually. So I've been doing like 4 years full time, and like maybe before that, I've done some other side projects that are marketing related, or you know. But so you know, but after college, went through a few different careers. I went back to Seattle for a little bit, and I was working in the tech space and advertising space, and then you know, I saw on Facebook a friend of mine from Madrid. You know, she was posting these pics in Tanzania and Malaysia, Jamaica. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, you're doing something that sounds right or that looks right. It's just like, oh, I work with this company. We put together these like economic reports for developing countries,
Uh,
go around the world. Sent it there. I was like, oh, cool. She's like, yeah, we're actually interviewing, so I can, if you submit an application, I'll put in a good word. I said, oh, sick. So I did that. Uh, you know, I quit my job at the time, and and the idea I had was to move to the East Coast, but then you know my friend put in this word for me and said, okay, you have to come to Madrid to interview. I was like, oh, cool. Well, I'm just gonna pack a bag, and I'm gonna pack a bag as if I'm not coming back. You know, so I went, killed the interview, and they're like, okay, you're going to Tanzania and you're going to join our team there next week. It's like, okay, well, that's why I packed the bag. So I was like, I called my mom. I was like, I'll see you at Christmas. And um, so yeah, that was that job that's like a fusion of advertising and journalism and sales. And so I did that for a year. And then, like I said, I tried to start a business in Madrid with a friend of mine. At first, we were going to try to start an app that was like related to nightlife and things to do for the Erasmus study abroad community, because that's where we came from, and our network and stuff like that. That didn't really pan out. So then, but at that time, I was teaching English in
okay.
Madrid to pay bills,
Mhm.
and so then we pivoted and we started a business that was like teaching English and Spanish online, and that went okay. But then you know I ran into visa issues, hence like the paperwork and the now I
You do
have
the good
respect
old
for
Shenzhen
paperwork.
shuffle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just stayed. I just,
Oh,
yeah,
for
I
you.
yeah, I was getting paid in cash, and it was enough, and I was like, "All right, cool. Well, I'm at that point, I'm like 24, 25, so I'm still like kind of fresh out of college and still living like a student, you
Mhm.
know. So it was enough, and then that ran out, and I was like, okay, well, that was a natural point to reflect and think, I maybe I should get my career going, and I got a job in Chicago working sales, and that and thanks to living in Spain so long, I really understood and felt comfortable in Spanish. And that company that I was working for, they just happened to run their sales for Latin America out of Chicago. So after a year at that company, I applied for an opening on the Latin America team, and at that, and then that job, what was cool about it is you travel a lot. So I
Yeah.
went around. I was out of the country 2 weeks out of every month at its peak, and then I got a little burnt out, and everyone's like, dude, but you're traveling around Latin America, you're getting paid well. Like it's like you talked about that order of things and like what everyone expects from you. And it's like, but I can do this on my own. I know I can. And so I started to, there's another reflection point. What can I do? What's a career that I can do online remotely and that's location agnostic? And marketing is pretty adjacent to sales, and so I got into search engine optimization. I took a bunch of courses, and um, I again, like, I got burnt out from that sales job. I quit. I took a job at a startup that paid me like a third of what I was making,
Mhm.
and uh, it just so I could have the mind space to start to shift into marketing and also pitch other companies in Chicago and build a network. And that allowed me to get some experience in digital marketing, in SEO, and then that led to full time work. That led to more remote work, and then over, I guess, the last year and a half is when I've really started to lean into starting my own consulting firm or consulting business. I still have a day job. I still work with an agency, which is great because it just allows me to get a lot of reps in, a lot of
Right.
exposure
Right.
in a lot of different situations. So yeah, it hasn't always been marketing. It's been a bunch of different things and a lot of things. I guess the common theme though, it's always been what can allow me to go live somewhere else or go visit different
Yep.
countries.
Yep. That's why so I work in video production, and I was before COVID, I was working in Broadway advertising, and then obviously the pandemic shut Broadway down for quite a bit, and I needed to survive. So I ended up going into pharma, and that job has since fallen through. So I'm making the decision of, okay, for video production, remote jobs are becoming fewer and far between, but I want the flexibility still to be able to be wherever I want to be and to dictate terms of how I want to work. So I'm going back into freelancing, and I'm just going to take jobs that, if I'm going to be based in North Carolina, but if I want to go to New York, I feel like it. They in Latin America, starting to build up filming. I've never been, so maybe a job will bring me there. But and then also I'm started to get connections in Europe. So my goal ultimately is to live part-time in the EU once I have my EU passport, and living part-time in the United States and see how long I can go that way. So, but when you're the number one question that I get asked all the time, and I feel like this is people misunderstanding me as a person, because I was never had a huge group of friends. I always had one, two friends that I was really, really close to, and then friendly with everybody else. So I think people ask me all the time, where are your friends? Are you hanging out with this big community? And I ended up joining a Verona expat group and found a book club, and ended up just when I was in Verona, I would go to the book club, and that was my quote unquote community. Do you Are you able to? Madrid was probably a bit different because you went to school there, but as you're in where you are now, are you feeling like you're able to build up that community? And how do you, if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and yeah, you hit it spot on. Uh, Madrid, it's pretty easy, and everyone there is kind of in party mode, so it's a good spot to mingle. Uh, but yeah, and it's an international place, so you get a lot of people that are kind of open and also being extroverted in order to create that social circle. So it's kind of easy. But for example, in Guadalajara, my my friends and I were always like, dude, the expat scene here is it's you meet interesting people for sure, but it's not like we've also come from London and Madrid and like other Medellin even and Mexico City, and it's a lot more vibrant, I guess you could say, or outgoing, or just bigger. So in Guadalajara, the digital nomad thing has started to pop up, although I still think Guadalajara is not like a hotbed for it. I think most people probably go to, Riviera Maya or Mexico City if they're looking at Mexico or Latin America in general. People go, I'm in Rio right now. Seems like there's a lot of people here in Rio, or a lot of people go to Medellin. That's kind of typical. Um, so I've leaned into work, you know, trying to do some networking stuff, a lot of like not masterminds, but meetups to talk about digital marketing, and so meet some local people. And then also golf. I've really leaned into, as I'm getting older, I like low impact sports. So I've done I've kind of gotten into the frisbee golf and golf community
Frisbee golf.
in
Okay.
Mexico. Yeah, they just put up a frisbee golf course in Guadalajara, and so I've been hitting that up every Wednesday, and uh, and that's just kind of keeping to my Seattle roots as well, very bro hippie type stuff. So yeah, that's it's finding those little activities like your book club. My book club is golf,
Do you feel like
and
it usually starts online, or is it you're out to dinner and you or out at these work events and then someone, it's kind of like that chain of you meet someone through someone and then you kind of just keep saying yes? Is that what it is for you more so than starting off on Facebook or any other online? I sound old by referencing Facebook. I'm off all social media for my mental well-being. I just do Facebook. So, if you whatever, insert whatever social media you want to, TikTok, whatever. Or is it the networking that you focus on to build your circle?
yeah, I would say it's if I'm using online because I'm pretty similar. I'm only on Instagram, which I need to do less of. But what am I trying to say? So like I'll use those online tools, social media, to find the offline meetups,
Okay.
and then forge relationships that way. Because like I don't know, man. Like these, how I'm gonna sound old when I talk to some people that I'm in my mid 30s. When I talk to some people that are in their mid 20s, they're like, "Oh, yeah, like how'd you meet your girlfriend?" Like Instagram. I can't even fathom how that works. Like, how is Instagram's become a dating app now? Uh,
Definitely.
but I'm like, how do you like
No.
it? How do you do that? Like, oh, I liked her photo and I DM'd her. So yeah, romance isn't dead. So
I That's been another interesting thing of, yeah, as I'm going around, I'll meet other people on tours and they'll say, "Oh, what's your Instagram?" And then I can chat with you. And it's like, I don't have, and then it ends there. They don't want to engage with me anymore. I'm like, well, I thought it was just to show pretty pictures about what I do. Why do we need to communicate that way? I don't understand. But I also prefer phone calls over text messaging. It's, I
yeah,
was born 40 years old and have just progressively gotten more middle age. So I'm 100 at this point. It's fine. um, but oh goodness, I totally lost my question. Oh, to your when you I don't know what your family dynamic is my father is a little bit more hands-on and my mom is a little bit more laissez-faire of go fulfill your dreams. And so I could go months without hearing from my parents if I didn't reach out to them first type of deal. But which my extended family is the complete opposite. And with my cousins, it would not work out as well. I'm very fortunate with my mother, especially that she is that way because I think she helps with my father. But how do you deal with do you feel homesick or do you have a good, healthy relationship? Not that you wouldn't if you didn't talk to them as often, but do you guys have a good dynamic where you feel like if you need to call out, they're always there for you? Or if you're homesick, there are things that you have on your person to help with that? How do you deal with potential homesickness?
Yeah, great question. I think when I was, living on the other side of the world in Europe, in Africa,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I we had like every Sunday we talk, we call each
Oh,
other,
that's nice.
and we have conversation. But now, like since I've been on this side of the world, I'm able to actually go to Seattle more, and like when I was living in the Midwest, go to a lot of family events, and we'd run into each other. Not run into each other like it wasn't planned, but like there's cousins getting married, or someone's having a baptism. So okay, the entire family gets together. So we see each other more. So like those phone conversations have kind of gotten less and less. But what's nice is also with working online is I can just go and spend a month at their house
Mhm.
if I want to, which I usually do in the summer because that's really the best time to be in Seattle. So
Yes.
that it's kind of nice. I get to escape the rainy season and just go up there where it's nice, sunny, and
Beautiful. Yeah.
like 80 degrees.
Yes. Yeah. Wait. So when you're, I don't know if you encounter this a lot, but if you were to talk to anybody younger that perhaps is a mini version of us that wants to travel, maybe doesn't have any examples of that in their personal life where they feel like it's feasible, what's the advice that you would give to them of how to make that move and feel confident doing that move?
How to feel confident doing that move? Um, I would say I didn't really plan it out too much. Luckily, you know, I had some structure the first couple times I did it, like going to college. Obviously, you know what you're there for.
Mhm.
You're going to have a plugged in, or like, a group to get plugged into, with the student body. And then obviously the university, if they don't take care of housing for you, then, they point you in the right direction.
Right.
Uh, and then like going down to Tanzania, the company was like, okay, I'm going down with the salary. They have housing uh, planned out. Mexico was a little different, but uh, I've actually been thinking about it the last few days because like here, I've been in Rio this week, spending a month trying to shock the system, and uh, and so far I love it, and it's like, could I live here?
Mm.
And it's like, but it is a lot different because I don't really speak Portuguese, so it's like I have to learn a new language, a new culture, a new country, and how everything works around here. Whereas, like, at least in Mexico, yeah, I didn't really have a job or housing already programmed in, but I spoke Spanish. I had been working in Mexico, so I had like a starting point. So, like, if I was someone starting with nothing, I mean, good luck. First of all, it is tough, uh, but I would say it's take advantage of things like Airbnb,
Mm.
uh, which is really great for long term stays, and you could spend you could spend a couple weeks in an apartment, or spend a couple weeks in different apartments in different areas, and so you're kind of non-committed, and you can get your feet wet and have your own space. Do your research. I think now the internet is just it's never been an easier time to to travel, to work, to make money, or at least, like, I mean, make enough money.
Mhm.
Just so so like, you don't need a company already to send you somewhere anymore. You can start, you know, your own little video production, or like, multimedia or digital marketing or something. Lean into your expertise that you have. Copywriting. You know, AI now is a big thing, and that can help you scale a business. So kind of do that work, that groundwork beforehand, and then talking about the internet more. Like, do your research.
Mhm.
YouTube is super powerful. Uh, you know, looking at social media, those Facebook groups, those are super helpful. You can find Facebook groups for anything. WhatsApp groups,
Mhm.
that's not WhatsApp is like a foreign language in America, but
I know.
uh,
Yeah.
it's like it's the biggest app in the world, but unheard of in the US. So download WhatsApp, and there's a million everywhere you go around the world. There's a bunch of WhatsApp groups where people that are also from foreign countries are trying to meet up and do cool stuff. So, that'll help you find that social circle once you land.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
yeah, I concur with that. I think the Airbnb is probably the really interesting thing. And I was actually thinking today, I'm in Salzburg right now, and I was walking around listening to a podcast, and it's just I wish I had these resources when we were coming up, because I probably would have done my college experience totally differently. I would have done so much of life very differently. I mean, it all worked out the way it was supposed to, but I also think it's important that people know their personality types. Like you're talking about being in Rio and considering could you live there. There's also certain cities that are like Portugal is begging for people to come. As long as you get a certain, if you have a remote job and have a certain amount in your paycheck per month, they'll give you a visa for a year to go and live there. So, and Italy did that originally too, and then they got a way too many people, and now they're like, please, everybody, stop coming to Italy. But I've learned about myself. I was walking around Salzburg, like, could I live here? And I think it's just too small city feel, and I don't know if I could live in Verona for a super long time. I think the year has been just enough because I need variety. Growing up in New York, I mean, everything was,
Yeah.
I'm much used to being able to have different experiences all the time. So I give my sister a lot of credit that she moved to Ohio after living in New York, and she's gotten really comfortable there. I don't know if I have the patience. I also am such a stereotypical New Yorker. I'm such a snob. So, which has made certain parts of Europe a great fit for my personality. But do you now, every time, even if you're going on a vacation, are you like, could I set up shop here for a while and just stay and not make this my new home, or are you able to just relax and enjoy and take it for what it is?
I maybe it sounds kind of weird, but I think I take vacations sometimes with that thought in the back of my mind, like, okay, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna enjoy it, but I'm gonna I'll structure it differently. And whereas, so like, for example, if I'm going to Cancun, or some, so like pure vacation, then I'm gonna stay in a hotel.
Mhm.
I'm gonna just like look at what are the cool restaurants to go to, what are the cool things to do. I'm not really gonna, whereas, if I'm going somewhere like Brazil, like, I'm not really considering moving here, but I want to get a feel for local life. So just in case, like, maybe I'll get tired of it, of Guadalajara, which
Mhm.
is very plausible. Like, maybe I'll have to, for whatever reason, move again, look for a different place. So I did some research. So yeah, I'm gonna stay in an Airbnb. I'm gonna get an apartment. I'm gonna look at some interesting neighborhoods. I'm gonna look for those things to do. I'm gonna find those WhatsApp groups other expats or nomads, so then I can get a feel for the local flavor a little bit more. Whereas I'm not doing any of that when I'm just going to, on a beach vacation
Right.
or something like that. I'm just so it's a little bit of a conscious decision sometimes.
Absolutely. With So we're approaching the end of our time. Can you give me an elevator pitch of your business? So if anybody's listening and they need some consulting advice, tell them about what you do and how they could reach out to you and get some help or consulting.
Yes. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs and business owners, uh, you know, grow their business by, creating custom SEO and pay-per-click strategies that help them reach more people, generate more leads in an organic and on the pay-per-click side and sustainable way. That is, uh, yeah, that's it's not flash in a pan type strategies. It is something that I intend that even when and if I stop working with a client, they're going to continue to see success and growth in their online channels. So that's what I do. I work with, entrepreneurs and business owners pretty exclusively. I just like the dynamic and I just feel a little bit more connected to my work that way because it's more personal. And so yeah, that's in a nutshell what I do. Or I could just, if that's a little too abstract, I help you get to number one on Google.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I feel I have done commercials, I've done television and film, I've done theater, I've done every variation of what you could do in the jobs that I've done, and people project and think that they know, and so I'm sure you experience the same thing where they tell you how it works, and it's like, but that's not how it works. So I'm sure you have to really love the people that you're working with. So I admire the fact that you're like, no, this is who I like to work with. um,
Yeah.
I'm sure they come more inspired and ready to collaborate if they're starting everything up in an entrepreneurial spirit. Hopefully, it's my assumption.
No, you assume correct. Sometimes it can be a lot of pressure because like it's their baby, but uh, it's I like it.
So I have a couple of rapid fire questions as we close this episode out. Is that okay?
I got some rapid fire answers. Shoot.
Perfect. What is your favorite food city?
Ooh, I mean, New York is hard to beat. You know, uh, Mexico City, I would say, is always something that pops up. That might be some. One of my friends is like, "What about Tokyo?" I was like, I haven't been to Tokyo in nearly 30 years. I don't know, but from what I've experienced, it's or Chicago. Chicago's
I
great.
was about to say, I
Uh,
would have thought that Chicago would have been your answer because you mentioned being there before. I'll take all those
yeah.
answers. Those are all really good answers. Do you
Yeah.
have do you prefer a vacation that you relax in or that you're active?
Ooh, relax.
Are you
I'm
able to
active enough.
relax? I
Oh
can't,
yeah,
so I need some tips. This is why I'm asking that on how to relax.
I just need a beach.
Mm.
I can spend all day, every day for weeks at the beach doing nothing.
I'm
So
so jealous.
I'm a big proponent of taking time to do nothing. So even not on vacation. So it's easy for me.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last rapid fire question is, what's the city that you learned the most about yourself?
Ooh, good question. Um, yeah, I would say Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. That trip, and then or not that trip, but that project, and then subsequently in Johannesburg too. Like those
Mm.
two places, just learned a lot about. Um, I don't know, it, just a lot about throwing myself in there and adjusting and just having to learn a bunch of different things all at once, and just it gave me a lot of confidence, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's on the bucket list. A lot of the places that you've been, I've never been and would love to go. But Tokyo is a little tricky with celiac, but South Africa, I've also been told I should not go by myself. So I am waiting for a friend to go with me, and then I will be able to go. And you'll have to tell me some tips and tricks of where to go when that moment happens. Um, so where can people find you if they want to follow your
Uh,
adventures and life?
I don't publish too much on my life, but social media wise, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Jake Schario, Schario. My company website, 38marketing.digital. I have an Instagram that I sometimes post on. Uh, and I guess that's kind of it. I'm not, you can, yeah, if you are in Latin America or in Seattle and want to talk, or if you want to connect like we are now online and chat about stuff, I love, talking about traveling and stuff like that. So reach out to me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message and we can set something up. It's always, I like to connect like kind of offline rather than just liking photos and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. I've taken up way too much of your time. Thank you so much, Jake, for all of this. And I'm just very appreciative. So thank you for this great conversation.
now this was wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. Hope we stay in touch and maybe we'll cross paths at some point.
Yeah.
I'll be in Europe this summer. Are you going to be there? Or are
Uh,
you going back home?
I will be there for on a cruise for 1 week. So maybe if we overlap in Rome for the one day I'll be there for sure.
We'll
We'll
we'll keep
connect
in touch.
offline. We'll connect offline.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Eat, Explore, Love the podcast with my guest, Jake Schario. I would love to hear your thoughts on these interviews taking place or any questions you may have about living abroad. Please reach out to the email for the podcast, hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. See you next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.